Superhero.
Tenacious.
Hero.
Ambitious.
Inspiring.
Legend.
Legendary.
Idol.
My initial reaction, honestly, and that, like, when I found out, and like still right now, I'm just still in shock. Just how it happened, as well the circumstances in which it happened, unbelievable. Like, helicopter crash, I could never like imagine it. Imagine like someone really dying that way. Like, I always believed, like, and a lot of people saying that, but I always believed like Kobe was invincible, and just to see him like that, really, it's just shocking, devastating.
I just didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. And then I searched up Kobe Bryant and nothing really came up. And then, you know, like 5 minutes later, I got a text from my brother. And from there on out, the news kept on coming in. Other sources were confirming it. My friends were texting me, they were calling me. And at that point, I was just in shock. I couldn't process it. I didn't want to process it. And that's kind of how it was for me on Sunday. And even now, as I'm talking to you, I'm still not able to process it.
My dad told me because our relatives are from LA, and so they texted us immediately, and yeah, it hit everyone in my family pretty hard, especially because, you know, being related to that area in general and being part of that kind of community hit us a lot harder than it would for other people.
I was in too much shock to even cry, because I was like, what? Like, he just tweeted LeBron like 15 hours ago. Like, how does this even make sense? And so I was just standing there in shock in front of the TV. And I stopped everything. I'm just sitting there. And then a couple, like 20 minutes later, I just started to cry. I was just like, this can't happen. Like, he was my idol. I took so much from him. What do you mean you can say he's dead? He's so young. His daughter was also so young. Like, what do you mean, like, this happened?
When I was really young, my dad had told me that there was an Italian basketball player, and obviously Kobe's not like exactly Italian, but he grew up there, and so like I think I just finally found like a connection to like a famous athlete that like I also grew up in Italy, so it was like, oh, like he grew up there as well. And then Kobe was already like a superstar at that time. By the time I got involved with basketball, I was like 10 or 11 years old, and so just like seeing him on the court, and then like as I learned more about him, and I learned about like his competitiveness, his like willingness to like just outwork anyone and everyone, that just kind of like inspired me.
His impact on the game, both on and off the court, was really just so profound and kind of unheard of, because not only was he like a fantastic player, he was also a great dad to his 4 daughters, and really was a great advocate for like women's basketball and women's sport in general.
There was this one interview, I don't remember where it was, but someone asked him like, what are your plans for post-retirement? And the first thing he said was like, spend more time coaching my kid, or like Gigi, because she's the one who plays basketball, and like going to his other daughter plays volleyball. He's like, oh, going to her tournaments, going to her games, and like creating a team and being the coach for that team. So it just like, it shows that whatever he's been practicing his whole life, like he wants to share with others, you know? And like, obviously me being a girl and like playing basketball, it's like, it's nice to see that he's a coach for a girls team rather than like a boys team, I guess, because it's like he cares about his daughter that much. But I think he's really just giving back to the community as a whole, because he's sharing his basketball knowledge.
The way he played basketball, like all the skill, the style, and the flash he brought into the game. Like when I first started watching his highlights, just the way he played, there was like a certain like, it was like artwork. It wasn't like he transcended the game.
You can't really write the story of Kobe without mentioning, you know, what happened in 2003, right? For me, that's like the hard part of like, you know, imagining Kobe as like the hero because of that. But again, the mistakes that he made, he learned from that, right? Like he went from that to raising three or 4 beautiful girls and being one of like the biggest advocates for women in sports and women's basketball.
Like his competitive drive and his effort. Like, I don't think I'd be playing sports if it wasn't for Kobe, just because of, you know, how much he worked, and, like the effort that he put in everything he did in life.
I think Rob Pelinka told a story the other day about how like Kobe called him up at 4 a.m. and was like, hey dude, can you come help me because I want to go do a shoot around. He's like, Kobe, it's 4 a.m. He's like, yeah, so what? Like, let's go do a shoot around. Like, I don't think, obviously like athletes work hard, and like all the top NBA athletes, they've all worked hard to get where they're at. But like, I don't think you see other athletes that get up at 4 a.m. to work and like, or like do real in-game moves like before the shoot around for that high of an intensity. Or he would be like, oh, I need to make 400 shots before I leave practice today. Like, a lot of athletes work hard, but like he just wanted to outwork everyone else. Like, that was his thing. Like, if he knew someone was working harder, he was gonna stay late and work even harder than that person, because like he just had to be the best at it.
It's the concept of like, if you're not getting better, you're only getting worse. And he was the embodiment of that. And that's why he had such a big impact on me, because I can use everything that he did in my life today, whether it's sports or schoolwork and everything. So that's why he had such a huge impact on me.
Like, a lot of teams who do win championships, they're like a few all-stars on the team, or there's like, you know, that. But Kobe was like the star of the team, and he kind of brought the lower players together and carried them to win a championship, like took them to the finals multiple years in a row. So it's just like, he really does put in the work for himself, but he also makes sure to like put in the work to help his teammates. So I think that's how he like stands out compared to players who just like maybe stay in the gym for some extra time to put in some extra shots. He like will work to do whatever it takes to make his team successful.
One of my favorite ones was in 2014, the 2013-2014 season, when they were playing the Toronto Raptors. He kind of put the team on his back and just proceeded to essentially annihilate the Raptors, carry them to overtime, and then get the game-winning dunk, essentially. And he basically just tore apart the Raptors, even at age 35. And I thought that was something where I was like, damn, this guy still has it. Like, I know he's getting a lot older, but screw what the other people are saying. He still has it.
He sunk like three-pointers back-to-back in an effort to like bring them back and end up like winning the game. He hit and this was all like in the last minute of the game, last couple of minutes of the game, and he just like scored them all crazy. And like at the end he finished with like a dunk as well to like seal the game. So yeah, just that moment, just crazy, like just believing that like in that short stretch of time he was able to like be so clutch and like score those without any hesitation. Like, he had no emotions on his face at all whatsoever. He was just like, in that moment I really saw like the Mamba mentality in the cold-blooded killer that he is, being able to finish the game off with that.
Story that really stood out to me was during the 2008 Olympics, when like all the other basketball players were out like partying or whatever. He was in the gym working out and getting better every day. And so what really stood Kobe apart from everyone else and all the other superstars in basketball was really his work ethics and how motivated and how driven he was for the game of basketball.
His last game, because it's something that a lot of people were like tuning into, and it's something that made you realize that he really was content with stepping off the court one last time.
Like, his last game, when he was shooting his last free throw, and like he made the first one and then he was shooting the second one. I remember like Gordon Hayward, like he stepped into the key because like in case Kobe did miss, he'd get another shot to like hit 60 points because he was like at 59 after the first free throw. And I don't know, it just like, I think that like meant a lot, and he was like so happy after he like hit 60. And it's just like, and that was his last game, you know. It was like the game that everyone will remember the most.
The Matt Barnes, the fake, and then Kobe didn't flinch. I think that was just like so iconic. Like, that's almost like robotic. Like, everyone has a natural instinct to just flinch there, but just like seeing him not flinch and just like stand there like what are you gonna do? Like, I don't know, I just feel like that was really iconic as just like Kobe. Like, that summarized Kobe. Like, he didn't care.
Since I'm also a LeBron fan, I would say when his last All-Star game, when he's playing, like he has this one-on-one matchup with LeBron at the end of the All-Star game in like 2016. I just thought that was like a really cool moment where we see Kobe kind of, like we see him exit the league, and we see how like the bond and friendship that LeBron and Kobe had. I think that's something that was irreplaceable. And since those two players have meant so much to me as a basketball player, I think that was one of my favorite moments of Kobe.
2014, for my birthday, my parents surprised me with Lakers tickets. So we drove down to LA. It was Portland versus the Lakers, and I got to see him live. We were sitting way up in like the nosebleed section, but I could just like feel his presence there, if you know what I mean, and just seeing him there, like seeing the person who I've looked up to the most. I've got to say that was like my favorite moment ever with Kobe.
Something that I want to integrate probably is just his desire to not give up, even in like the face of like an obstacle or something. Like especially in this time, it's like his death obviously is kind of like an obstacle to me. I've just been like feeling really down about it. But like what Kobe would have wanted is to like just accept it as a part of life and move on, as he did with a lot of circumstances in his life. So that's something I really want to integrate. Just that like that motivation to not give up. Yeah, just like even like when there's like a lot of criticism, a lot of hate, a lot of like things that like you can't really necessarily control, just like going through all of that and making the best out of the situation.
I think he was a hero to a lot of people. I think he inspired like not only like his contemporaries, but like everyone in sports, and also the next generation of athletes. Like when you talk about like people he mentored, like Trae Young, Kyle Kuzma, D'Lo, like it's clear that he cared not only about the people around him, but also the future.
Life is really precious. No day is ever given. Tomorrow's never confirmed that you'll still be alive. So I think really cherishing every moment that you have right now, as you have it, making sure that you get the most out of everything you're doing right now is probably the one thing I would take with me for the rest of my life, because that like what happened with Kobe, and he called up LeBron, told him congratulations, and the next day he never heard LeBron. That was his last conversation. So I think it's like really like cherishing every moment, because you don't know if tomorrow will come.
His daughter was only 13, and she had so much potential and so much opportunities to really just live up to, and she was like taken from such a young age, which is extremely unfair. And sometimes that just happens in life. Things don't always go your way, and sometimes things really unexpected happen, and it's just really unfortunate that it happened to her and Kobe.
I was still like in shock Sunday, so I didn't really feel like doing anything. But like just the day afterwards, I went to Kennedy, and I just tried to sink 81 shots, just in memory of him, of his 81-point game. So yeah, I went there, just took like many of the shots that he took as well, like fadeaways, 3-pointers, long distance 3-pointers. So yeah, just like I just felt like I had to like pay my respects in some way, and what other way to do it than doing it like in the game that he won.
Someone like Kobe, who I thought of as just immortal, who could never go. If he can go, then any of us can go in an instant, and that tragedy really makes you feel that, not just make you think it, makes you feel that. So yeah.